Good morning and welcome to Mentality Meets. My name is Peter Larkum and I created Mentality. The main reason is to try and help all of us to understand our mental health better. Why? Because we are all on this journey. And as we've been going through this lockdown process, we're now in week 6, I believe. Time has kind of gone away with me. And I don't know about other people, but I have certainly felt it this week. Just how tough it is, just the monotony of it, one day leaking into the next, into the next, into the next, trying to figure out how to make weekends feel a little bit different to the rest of the week. Um, I have 3 small boys. I have a 7-year-old, I have a 4-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old. So also, how do we balance working and homeschooling and family life, parenting, all those things going on in the background as well, while trying to stay sane in amongst it. And I've had lots of conversations over these weeks with people who are really struggling, others who are coping well, but quite a lot who are really struggling, kind of like they've never really experienced before. And so this is what Mentality Meets is all about. It's an opportunity to explore our mental health, to be talking about it openly, honestly, without fear, without stigma, so as we can begin to understand our mental health journey. Now, we're not talking about mental health illnesses, we're talking about mental health. So this is Mentality Meets. I hope you enjoy it. General rules and guidelines for a session like this. So welcome everybody. We just need you to know that we don't know who you are, okay? We don't know what your history is. We don't know whether you are experiencing mental health illnesses, whether you have experienced mental health illnesses. We don't know where you are on this journey. So please can we ask that you look after yourselves as we go through this. Danny and I are going to be chatting all things mental health, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So just be aware of what's going on inside of you. If you feel like you need to reach out for some help today, please send me a private message and just let me know how you're getting on. Otherwise, there's a couple of options of where you can go and how you can get some help. So there's always the Samaritans on 116123. Please, if you need to, give them a call and get some help. There's also a text service available where you can text shout to 85258. And by doing that, you will then be connected to and contacted by a member of their team. Another option is to use the Hub of Hope. Now, we've been talking about the Hub of Hope on all of these sessions. It's a fantastic organization, and it's www.hubofhope.co.uk. And you simply search your postcode and it will give you all the mental health provision for your local area. So if you need to, get some help, okay? We don't need to be afraid of our mental health, but we do need to understand it. So do reach out and get some help if you need to. So Mentality Meets is where I get to talk to some fantastic people. And today we have Danny Rahim joining us. So thank you very much, Danny. Can you just give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself so as people can see you and get to hear what your lovely voice is like?
Yes, certainly. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Danny Rahim. I am an actor and mental health speaker. I started acting in 2005, graduated in 2008, and have sort of been doing so on and off for, it's weird to think of it like that. And yeah, I sort of, my inquisitiveness, my willing to learn about the kind of mental health world sort of came from my mother, who wasn't particularly well, who it still isn't very well actually. She has bipolar and emotionally unstable personality disorder. So for many years, we kind of, as a family, we were taking care of her and trying to really understand it. And then in 2012, I had a mental health breakdown myself. And after a series of events, which I'm more than happy to cover later on. And then I sort of thought, right, you know, what I went through, what I experienced, I don't want, as much as I can help, anyone else to have to go through that. So it began the learning and the studying and the understanding and all the therapies that sort of went with recovery as well. And so that's kind of what I do. It's kind of half actor, half mental health speaker, ambassador, trainer, whatever you want to call it. So many hats, but essentially, you know, trying to help and support others who may be struggling or finding things difficult.
Brilliant. Thank you. And so in our kind of conversation today, you gave a great statement last week. So you on the chat last week, and Joe and I were talking. And one of the things that you put in the thread was that it is okay to be okay during this time. And I thought that was really important to begin to explore and discuss. And so can you just try and help me understand how you are okay in the midst of everything that we've got going on, and how we might be able to find that level of balance going on?
Yeah, so we have our weekly meets as the Speakers Collective, and and as well as I have lots of other meetings sort of outside with work, and we would constantly come into these chats and say kind of how's everyone doing, and generally a lot of people are struggling at the moment, and going through quite a big transition, and I noticed that people and a lot of the comments were, oh, it's really difficult at the moment, I'm really struggling, or this has happened, or I'm at home with the kids, and a lot of kind of differing testing situations. And so I sort of got to a point where things that were sort of going well for me at the moment, or great learns I was having, or self-development, or self-awareness, whatever we want to call it, self-learning, I then sort of started to feel a little bit weird about saying I'm actually okay at the moment, because I didn't want it to feel like I was bragging or saying, when people are finding things difficult, to be like, oh, okay, life's actually not so bad for me at the moment, or I'm having this, realization that I'm growing in this area, or I'm really happy that I haven't drank for a month, or whatever those things are. So really big breakthroughs personally, but then I'd come to these meetings with 10, 15, 20 people, or whoever I'm working with, and generally the kind of mood was a little bit kind of lower, and understandably for everyone's situation. So it sort of got me thinking, it's very important that we do realize the good things that we have in the day as well, and we do remember those, and we do kind of share those with each other as well, because everybody will have something great that happens in their day, and so everyone will have something bad that happens in their day, and quite often a combination of both of those. But if we focus on all the negatives in a day, that will affect our long-term mood. And so it's important, as part of, some people call it gratitude in the mornings. It has, various names, but or appreciation, whatever you want to call it. But waking up or in the day saying, do you know what, that's so nice that I had that amazing catch up with my friend, or what a lovely chat I had there, or the kids came back and did this, or they picked me a flat, whatever the things are, but remembering that there are good moments in our days, as well as some testing times.
I think that's really key, because it's one of the things which I've really appreciated, and I think we do this in the Speakers Collective connections, where we talk about a rose. And I think it was Steve that put this forward. So the thorn being what's tough at the moment. Let's be real, what's tough, but also the bud, which is what are we looking forward to? What are we expectant of? What are we able to kind of look into the future for, and we're a little bit excited by? And the flower being what's the good stuff. And what I love about it is that it's not kind of silver lining everything, saying, well, we're only allowed to focus in on the good stuff, and it's also not we're only allowed to focus in on the prickly stuff, but it's got this fantastic blend of the kind of hard stuff and the stuff we're optimistic about, they're looking forward to, and the good stuff. So question out to everybody on the chat today, give me one thing that you are thankful for today. One thing that you are thankful for today. Write them down in your chat bar and let's get some responses. So Danny, what for you has been the bit that you've been focusing in on? Because you said something like you haven't drunk for a couple of weeks, and I would love to say that that's the truth for me, but it is so far from the truth. So what are the good things that you have been able to focus in on for yourself and to keep yourself in this okay place?
So coincidentally, I started a counselling course just because I wanted to kind of extend how I could help people, doing the talking and the sharing. But I thought, when people do come back and they're having difficult times, I want to say the right things, and I want to, certainly put myself in a position that I'm saying the right things. So, but with this counselling course, comes a lot of introspection and a lot of self, and a lot of kind of, I write about myself and history in my past and why I act and interact and do certain things in certain ways. So that was going quite deep in itself. I then, you know, with time that I had, a friend of mine messaged me about doing this Deepak Chopra 21-day meditation abundance challenge, which again is about meditation and gratitude every morning, repetition, patterns, routines. So then I've got a little bit of that as well. And I thought, I was sitting up with my just to kind of caveat this, I'm not like, I don't think I have any particular issues with alcohol, but it was the thing of, you know, if there is ever a time to be away from alcohol for a bit, we've got a sort of choice now. Because a lot of how I used to interact socially was going out and drinking with friends. You know, the sun's out, we go and have a beer. You know, you have dinner, you have a glass of wine. And I realized that was just part of my everyday routine. And now the thing that I realized quite quickly was that when you drink, generally comes a hangover. And if your mind is not in a great state already, then you're giving it more ammunition to feel even worse. And this is speaking personally. Then also you're probably exercising a lot less now, so you're going to get weight gain. So physically, you're not going to feel good about yourself. Mentally, you're going to be a bit. And I just thought, these are not things that I want to have, you know, in combination together. I need to be responsible for myself. And it helped that my two housemates were on that journey as well. And they just said, look, what's the point? What's the point in having a drink? Like, so we went to the shop and we got some, you know, freshly squeezed lemonade, and we made that with some ice and put some fruit in there. And we realized that actually it was about just having something in our hands. It was this habitual pattern. It was this routine of just sitting there with something in your hand and drinking something that we were used to, rather than actually being like, oh, I love the feeling of alcohol. So all of this kind of put together, you know, has meant that in the last 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks, I've been going quite deep into myself and trying to understand myself. But my head feels so clear, and I believe it's to do with the alcohol and the lack of. And there was a really interesting article posted this morning on The Guardian that said the amount of people accessing services for alcohol related abuse or whatever has gone up four times. So where there were 4,000 cases a year ago today, now there's 20,000 people accessing these self-help services.
Wow.
And yeah, and so only 6% of the population have stopped drinking during this time. Generally, people are drinking a lot more. So it wasn't supposed to be the theme of our convo, but, you know, I think it's a really, given those kind of new statistics out, I think it's a really good point to kind of mark that, you know, we've got to take care of ourselves, and we've got to, you know, there is an element of responsibility. You know, if we know that we're in a little bit of a vulnerable disposition, the first thing to be reaching for is probably not the bottle, or, you know, and that's certainly the case for me.
Amazing. So let's just kind of have a quick look through these responses of things that we are thankful for. So we've got sunshine, which I totally agree with. Being able to throw my boys out to the back garden is an absolute blessing. Birds singing outside. A new parasol has arrived for Marsha. Coffee turned out great this morning. I walked into our session just before I logged everyone in and said to Danny, I'm so glad that I have an espresso machine. And we bought it before my second son was born, because we kind of realized that early mornings were now going to be a thing. And I'm so grateful for coffee. Flowers in my office, being locked down with family and not being isolated. Yes, again, gifts of flowers, conversations like this. Just had the most amazing toasted tea cake. Oh, Lauren, that I have tea cake envy going on with that. Are we talking about hot cross buns or tea cakes? Okay, now that's another question. Would you go for a hot cross bun or a toasted tea cake? You don't have to answer.
You know, it's just a quick one. A quick one here. It's just to, as you're saying that, I'm looking around at the people that have got their cameras on, and while everybody is talking about the things that are making them everyone's smiling. So when you smile, your endorphins, your serotonin, it's all buzzing around because you're talking about fond memories. As I'm sitting here kind of yapping on about alcohol misuse or whatever we want to call it, everyone's a bit, there's like a melancholy there with everyone. And as soon as you go tea cakes or whatever it made, the things that have made sunshine, whatever's made people smile, everybody's smiling. And so we've got something free in our toolbox to kind of lift us up.
I like that. So Phil says having an office that overlooks the bird feeders in the garden. Melissa says that her last drink was on the 28th of June 2019. Feeling great for it. She will drink again, she says, but has decided to have a break for at least a year. Lauren also says the Deepak Abundance course. What a great positive process. Johnny says crumpets. Again, food envy going on.
He's a man of many words, Johnny Benjamin.
Is it bad that I like to have 2 or 3 hot cross buns every morning? Every morning. Good going. And what you think affects the way you feel, which I think is a fantastically deep process. Because it's all about what we focus in on. And the way that our mind, the power that our mind has. And I think this is what I find fascinating in the world of mental health, is how do we help to train our mind to jump to the positives? Because it can very easily jump to the negatives, you know? And I think there is a discipline where we have to start to force our minds to jump to the positives and to hold on to those good things. Because it seems to be an awful lot easier to get sucked down within our mental health than it is to kind of be pushing ourselves up for some reason. So, so Danny, you've been talking about kind of the alcohol side of things and the food side of things. And earlier we were talking about being on more Zoom calls and actually connecting with friends. And at the moment we can't do it in person, but we can do it over Zoom or FaceTime. And the importance of connection. Why do you think that that is such an important thing for us at this time?
Humans need connectivity, all right? There's Johan Hari's written a book called Lost Connections, and he attributes all depression, most depression, down to lack of connectivity. He said that's it, that's the simple thing. We feel low and we feel socially disconnected, socially isolated, you know, terms that are being used by the media at the moment. Actually, it's not social isolation, because if we're speaking on the phone, that's connectivity. But if it's framed in that way, then people panic. People think, oh my God, I'm by myself. You know, and I don't think that's the smartest way to be framing this stuff. But I do believe there's something very powerful in talking and caring and sharing. And, you know, if we talk back to, we were discussing just before this, the shed, or as Steve shared with us the other day, self. So these mantras of going back to what are our fundamentals? How do we, when our brain is ruminating, as you were saying, when our brain is going all over the place, what are the fundamentals that we come back to? And shed would be sleep, hydrate, exercise, and diet. Okay, so making sure that we're
sleep, hydrate, exercise,
and diet.
Okay.
So when things are slipping, you come back to your fundamentals. If you're not feeling great, you come back and you check in, or you go to your shed and you reset, right? So I make sure, am I sleeping properly, hydrating, drinking water, exercising can be a walk, and diet. Steve also mentioned to us, one of the other speakers, self, which I really liked, which is sleep, eat, love, and what was the other one? Sleep, exercise, love, and food. Yeah. And love, I take to mean the love is the connectivity, the giving love and receiving love. And that comes back to this connection thing again, right? And I've had conversations that I have with good friends of mine across the country during this time that, you know, I would sit and have a conversation and think, well, when was the last time we had this? When was the last time we sat for an hour totally uninterrupted and had this moment just to sit calm and speak and catch up? And you were discussing catching up with your friends last night until midnight, you know. And when you sit down and you create the time and the space to really engage with one person and FaceTime, whatever, it's amazing how time flies, isn't it? And I think that has been really important in keeping me level, nurturing those good, solid relationships.
It's been a really interesting one, because as we were talking about that, I was like, actually, you know what it is? It's really good when you kind of connect with friends and you have that time and you chat. And as we were talking about it, I was thinking, but hang on, at the end of the evening, it's the last thing I want to do.
Mm.
I feel absolutely exhausted, totally shattered.
Yeah.
And sometimes when there was a Zoom call already booked in the diary, my wife and I look at each other and kind of go, oh, no, okay, we can do this. And we have to kind of almost get our game face back on again.
Yeah.
But like you said, the other night, we had a conversation. There were about 6 different couples on the phone, on the Zoom call. And it was just an absolute pleasure. And we were on it for hours.
Yeah.
And there is a real fight. And I know that this isn't just at the moment, because I think it's a fight that we are always in, which is doing something that I know is good for me,
Yeah.
when sometimes I just can't be bothered.
And you know what? Here, I've got an interesting point on this. So people quite often, our very lovely Jo Emerson, she'll say to me, what are you up to this weekend? And I say, I don't know. I will wake up in the morning on Saturday and I'll listen to my body. What does it want to, I want to walk, I want to eat, what do I want to do? And quite often, it's the planning aspect. People are diarising things a week, a month in advance. And I appreciate sometimes you have to, particularly if you've got kids or with work. But how tragic is it that we're getting to those points of catching up with people that we're not looking forward to it? We're already priming ourselves. We're going into those situations thinking, oh, I've got this call at 2, really can't be asked. That's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to wake up on a Saturday morning, in a particular morning, and feel like, do you know what, I really need a catch up today. Who can I message for this catch up? Because you're responding to your body, how it feels in that present moment. You're not going, okay, next Saturday, because how do you know how you're going to feel on a Friday? You might not want to speak to anyone on a Saturday, but yet you've got that in the diary, and therefore you've got anxiety building towards something that's supposed to be a fun, nurturing event.
No, I think that's, oh, excuse me. I feel that's incredibly important, that actually we need to make it a priority, because you're right. Yesterday, we as a family kind of did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It was a day of doing nothing. And for me, it's a real time to recharge. And we've spoken a couple of times on the Mentality Meet sessions about putting your phone to one side,
Yeah,
and not being on it all the time. And Johnny just got caught up on the messages where Johnny said, "You used to live with Danny, and it was a nightmare trying to plan something in advance. But it taught me to live in the moment."
body,
Because sometimes we forget to actually listen to ourselves. And in the midst of all of that, I think it's so important that we take some time to be able to calm ourselves, and begin to understand ourselves better. And when I talk in this kind of context, people often go, "Oh, that's a little bit kind of mystic and guru-ish." But there is something important about it, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to know know oneself, I think, is a quote.
Listening to yourself. That's the thing. Listen to your body. Your body is it will tell you what it wants. It will tell you what it needs. You know when you're thirsty generally. You know when you're hungry. You know when you're tired. And these are our fundamentals. Tell me if I freeze, by the way, mate, because I don't know if it's a...
No, you're good. You're good.
You're so engrossed in what I'm saying, or I've frozen.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so these things can, it's telling us what to do. It's telling us what we need, and we've just got to be calm and able to sit with it and go, okay, this is what it's saying, and that's fine. It's telling me today I don't want to do anything. I want to sit at home and I want to watch a bit of Netflix and I want to relax. That's fine, and you'll find a routine or a pattern that suits you. Actually, I realize that if I get up and meditate in the mornings, I feel better for the day. That's fine. It's very individual, like what works for you. Someone's tune into ourselves. Yeah, 100%. It's telling you what it needs. And, I've, as I mentioned on this journey of kind of self-development, self-discovery, whatever, without it sounding too kind of wanky, but, meditation, it's funny when I say meditation to people, sometimes they go, oh, I can't do that. It's really weird. But actually meditation is just sitting, relaxing, calm. You can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed, but sit and breathe. And there's no TV, there's no phone, there's nothing. There's me sitting with myself and understanding, how do I feel? Asking myself, how do I feel today? How do you feel today? What do I need? What would make me happier? Being out the house, some fresh air will make me happier. The kids not screaming around like crazy, whatever the things may be. And I'm totally understanding of, the situation with kids when you've got young children or any children running around, must be really, really difficult at the moment, you know, because it's a total displacement if you used to sit in an office and now you're sat at home with, you know, kids running around. But somehow we've got to try as much as we can to reframe that in terms of how amazing that I get this quality time with my kids. Because, you know, how often is it prior to this that we've been sitting there saying, oh, I just wish I had a bit more time. Just wish I had a bit more time for this. Oh, I just don't have time. I'll try and get around to it next week. Got all the time in the world now. It might be full of different things, you know, kids running around or more responsibility, homeschooling, whatever these things are that we didn't have to do before. But we have a choice on how we kind of prioritize that stuff.
I think it's really important. So, okay, last question for the whole group. We're 3 minutes away from the end of our session today, and I just want to ask, what is going to be the one thing that you deliberately put in your day to day? Okay, I want you to try and think of one thing that you are specifically going to do, whether that is to just go and sit and be on your own, whether it's going to be to listen to music, whether it's to go out for your walk or to eat that toasted tea cake again. So what is it that you are actively going to deliberately do today? Because we were talking that you can't make time, you can't save time, you can only utilize the time that you have. And sometimes I believe we don't like spending time with ourselves. So we try and fill our time and preoccupy it with lots of other stuff, which makes us busy so as we don't have to sit with ourselves and try and understand ourselves better. And this is something which I'm beginning to understand for myself as well. So just some last thoughts from this. We've got eat chocolate, and go for a walk, share with those around you, feel in the moment as well. 4 of us just crashed and played Double last night. Oh, if you've never come across Double, Google it. It's a great game. Read before bed, hydration, and drink more water, connect with people, spending time and eating another toasted tea cake. Good on you. Read Galwaldi's book, run, drink more water, and go for a hike. These are fantastic things to do as we do this. And then Melissa said, hang on, change my mind. I think I'll have a toasted tea cake. I think I'm going to go and find a toasted tea cake.
Listen to your body. Your body will tell you. It's changed.
So, Danny, any last thoughts before we close off this session?
Last thoughts. Yes. The average person lives for 4,000 weeks. So if you imagine that, that doesn't sound like a lot of weeks. So, you know, this is one of those weeks, and this may be the next 6 months of these weeks. So it's, you know, kind of make yourselves patterns and habits and routines that make you happy day to day as much as you can, because we don't know what the foreseeable future is going to be. And if we only have 4,000 weeks, let's try and enjoy as many of them as we can.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is as a formal an ending as you're going to get from these mentality meets. I've been Pete Larkum. This has been Danny Rahim. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you feel blessed and have a fantastic day as you go on. Do something that you have always wanted to do in the context of lockdown. Enjoy yourselves. Take care. God bless. And bye-bye now.
Thank you.
So that was our official ending. Amazing. Brilliant. So what have we got else coming in? Thank you very much. Upbeat, and we needed that. So thank you very much, thank you very much, thank you very much, thank you very much, and goodbye from people as they begin to log off. So Danny, just thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope it's been a good one for you.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. And I was going to finish our conversation we were having before, or those that are still sticking around. Someone is actually my housemate yesterday, gave me a really good breakdown of how meditation was described to her. And she said, imagine your brain is a computer, and you always have all these windows popping up. You know, you have your Google, you have this, your PowerPoint for work, you have all of these windows. And gradually, as you have all these windows coming up, your computer slows down. It has an inability to process all these things at once, because you've got a limited processor, right? Your processor can only do a certain amount of things at once. And by meditating, mindfulness, you're able to look and go, which windows do I need at the moment, and close down. You only have the ones remaining that you need, which increases your processing power and therefore energy. How cool is that?
That's a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
That's a really helpful way of describing it.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. You know what, everyone? Thank you so much, Danny. Bless you. And
Pleasure.
we will catch up with all things good. Guys, thank you very much. Take care. God bless.
See you later.
And
Bye
bye
bye.
bye now.